We are family. My father retired from a good job years earlier, and he spent his free time with his friends who had also retired from good jobs. They liked to take daily trips to the racetrack to bet the horses. My dad was extremely popular. He had more friends than anyone I've ever known. My mom was a very kind, loving, church-going woman. She didn't drink or curse, opposite of my dad, but they were both loving and very family-oriented. My parents would cook meals every holiday. My mom would make sides, and my dad would grill. It was an open invitation to family and friends to come on over. My parents were great cooks, and it was usually a great time with plenty of food and drinks, and the get-togethers definitely got better as the years went on. There were times back in the day not all the get-togethers were peaceful. Whether it was because women would call the house and hang up on everyone except my father, or if my siblings and their significant others were arguing or fighting, it didn't matter. As a child, it was always terrifying. A family divided. I'm not sure if this was one of the reasons for some of the fights, but my mother's behavior would be odd at times. She'd stare into neighbors' cars, walk around aimlessly, laughing loud and uncontrollably to herself. Her behavior was a cause of distress for me. I didn't understand what she was doing and why she wouldn't stop. I spent a lot of time in my room, especially after these episodes, and no one took the time to explain any of it to me. I was left with the thought that it could happen to me. My mother would go for stays at the hospital sometimes, and the family acted like it wasn't happening, but it was. My mom's behavior took up a lot of time in my mind. I tried to process it. I loved my mom so very much. She was the kind of mom you had to give a hug to. She'd squeeze me tight, knowing I wasn't a hugger. I'd resist a little bit. I knew I wasn't walking out the door without it, and the big kiss on my cheek. She did this with everyone, but I felt like my hugs were full of extra love. I guess that's the spoiled part of me, wanting my mom to myself. But even that didn't stop me from being afraid that what was happening to her would also happen to me. I went out of my way, making conscious choices with everything I did. That's how I coped. Everything had to make sense to me, which probably caused me to develop a perfectionism complex. So I spent a lot of time in my room alone listening to music and daydreaming of something different. I tried to fit in with my family. My siblings were older. My nieces and nephews were younger. And back then it seemed like there were a lot younger. I guess I thought I was so much older. They were babies, but actually only a 5 or 6 years age difference. There were some special times when my dad would take me and my mom to the racetrack to watch the stallions were beautiful, fierce, and unforgettable up close. He also took us on long rides sightseeing through expensive neighborhoods and stopping along the way to get ice cream or pizza. Those are the memories I hold on to. The other memories were of when my mom would go on those hospital stays. My dad would be at the racetrack. My friends would have to go home because the streetlights came on and I would be alone. I'd listen to music, daydream, be sad, then relieved when someone, anyone, finally came over or came back home. These memories were more difficult. School days. I never liked getting up early and usually late for school. I didn't like waking early. Then it seemed to take so long to finally get dressed, do makeup, get my hair right, baby hair smoothed. Then my dad would get ready, driving slowly wherever he went. Didn't matter how big of a hurry anyone was in, his car was set for cruise. So I was in junior high when I started getting paddled for tardiness, or sent to in school suspension, which was fine with me. We had to be quiet, so that gave me a chance to get my work done, then drift off into thought. I liked schoolwork, receiving pretty good grades. In high school, I was in an inner office program where we typed, took shorthand, and accounting. I really enjoyed the competitiveness in that class, a bunch of girls seeing who could type the fastest. I wanted to be a lawyer. I watched Judge Wapner after school every day, and we would come up with the same decision. When I graduated, I had a choice of 3 jobs. One was to work in an attorney's office, another was to work for the city tax department, One job was my dream, the other was the job I got talked into. It had a union, and I could retire from there. From dreams to reality. 2 weeks later, there I was behind a desk, doing mostly filing, which was a breeze. The tax agents were mostly older white women and men, and a couple black women. What was supposed to be a breeze, and I would retire from, turned out to be my daily nightmare. The women in the office made it very clear they had a problem with me. There was another girl that started on the same day, but their problem was with me. Only made worse when a very handsome older man in his 30s came in to have his taxes done but had taken an interest in me. I turned down his advances because I could feel their eyes drilling holes on my back. But he came in a few more times the last time, bringing a beautiful bouquet of roses. Well, I turned him down. But it didn't matter. I was walking past two of the women saying, "She's only here because of affirmative action." I didn't know what that meant, but when I found out, I did everything possible to be moved to another department within the city with no luck. It turns out you can't complain to your new job prospect about your current job stressing you out. This didn't work, so I quit, disappointing my entire hardworking family that believed in good jobs and retiring. Well, I continued to go on with more jobs that I didn't like. Then I started picking bad relationships too.